would look at all these softwares, and the first thing I'd say is like, why is it so old? Why doesn't it work? Why can't you talk to a real human? And be like, that's just like the way the world is.
Welcome back to the Fit Insider podcast. I'm your host, Joe Veneri. Today I'm joined by Rachel Leah Fishman, co-founder and CEO of Arketa. In this episode, we learn how fitness studios use the company's platform to scale hybrid offerings. Rachel talks about increasing digital and in-person revenue for boutique studios and fitness creators. Plus, she explains why customer obsession is essential to Arketa's success. Let's get into it. Rachel Leah, welcome to Fit Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here today.
Yeah, we were chatting offline a little bit, and it's like longtime follower, first time kind of like interview, get a chance to chat in depth. Obviously, we've followed what you're working on at Arketa for, it feels like a number of years now, but excited to get the full download and update from you. So just to kick things off, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us what you're working on.
My name is Rachel Leah. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Arketa. Great to be here today. Background on me is I'm born and raised from Boston, Massachusetts. Go Pats and Red Sox. And unfortunately, I tore both my ACLs in high school. Super painful. Tore one year, tore one the other year. And I came out to sunny California trying everything under the sun to fix my knees. And I quickly found yoga, which so many other people do, and just became obsessed. So obsessed that I did my 200-hour RYT. I did all my group fitness certifications, and I immediately started teaching. If you know anything about LA, the traffic's really bad. They have this thing called the 405 where anything takes 45 minutes to get to. And I drove 45 minutes to teach my first yoga class. It was absolutely incredible. The way that we connect with students and change their lives in a studio space is just transformative. What wasn't so transformative is when I realized how much money we all make, both as an instructor and as a studio. And so what I realized is that we as business owners weren't making the kind of money that I thought we should have at the time. And hence, Arketa was born. We are the only wellness business platform that is built today for the hybrid world. And really, our goal is to increase access to wellness by helping studios grow beyond classes, which we can now do in a post-COVID world.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say awesome story. Kind of unfortunate with the injuries initially, but definitely reminds me of both Anthony and I coming up in the fitness industry, going through the experience of being former athletes. Anthony, well, both of us getting injured, becoming personal trainers, thinking about like, well, the system is kind of broken, right? And kind of seeing, where things are fantastic, getting to help people and encourage them to live healthy lifestyles, but then realizing like, how are we going to make ends meet if we're just, charging whatever it is, the hourly rate or the class rate, and then making a very small percentage of that on the back end. So kind of, fast forwarding into now we've post COVID or still, I don't know what we're calling it in terms of where we are in the sequence of things. It's certainly still around, but the last couple years have changed how everybody perceives fitness, brick and mortar, omni-channel, hybrid, digital only, all these different things. But you've been kind of working on this problem for quite a while. How long has it been, since you started the company, conceived of it? And then what has maybe transpired over the last couple of years to get us to the present day?
Yeah, I was actually just talking about this with my co-founder, Josh. So we started this together pre-pandemic, and his background is he's an engineer and a huge Ironman. So he did Kona a few years back, which is pretty crazy. And we were looking back at literally March 18th, which was right after the pandemic hit. And we were taking payments on a mobile app for Instagram Lives. And we were like, oh my God, it is so wild that people are still so obsessed with fitness and wellness. We have this crazy little app that people are taking essentially what should be free classes, but they're paying. And what happened is COVID totally disrupted the industry. There's no surprise about that. I like to say it's like a chessboard. There was a way that this industry had to run and operate, and that chessboard was entirely flipped on its head. And what happened when that chessboard flipped is that everyone became N equals one because nobody could pay their employees, nobody could keep business afloat. And so what happened is that we supported the individual because there was no huge conglomerate to support. And as our businesses started to grow, we grew with them. And so I love to tell a story of a couple out of New York. It's two women. They started by taking Zoom classes and teaching Zoom classes. Then they were like, oh my God, what if we recorded these Zoom classes and put them in a content library? And they quickly started growing and scaling and scaling and scaling. They were like, oh my gosh, it's time to open up a new brick and mortar. And so what we realized is that very quickly in this post pandemic world, individuals started becoming the next generation of studios. And this is how so many current SMBs are built, right? You have an incredible human with a brand and idea. And so we're seeing this next generation of studios really coming and growing very, very fast. Where we are today is we have thousands of customers processing millions of dollars around the world. So anywhere from the US, Australia, UK, you name it, we support them. And then we also support individuals as well as enterprise customers. So we support Free People Movement. They're a clothing brand that operates events around the country. Studios like Turf in Vancouver, KK Sweat, the New York studio I was just mentioning, all the way from that to the individual creator influencers like Lindsay Herod, Aubrey Winters, etc. And what's so exciting to see is that these business owners are making 5 times more revenue, unlocking new monetization streams in this hybrid world than they were ever making pre-pandemic just doing the in-person classes. And I think that's what's just most exciting is that the future of studios is both in person and online.
Yeah, it's incredible to see all those the chessboard basically like get reconfigured, right? Totally. Now that it was flipped over and now we're starting to put these pieces back and for you to be able to build along with the kind of customers is they're experiencing new things, the industry's taking new formats and those shifts. I'd be curious to hear, there was the at the inception like this recognition and through your own experience, right, of being an instructor like, okay, something's not right and you kind of went into it with maybe an idea of the problem you were going to solve or the software or how you're going to go about it. And of course, that's taken different iterations over time. But the idea behind it, like a business management software, a booking platform, some way to simplify running a fitness or wellness business, like that existed. And I think as we've kind of seen, especially over the last couple of years, folks chasing different versions of that, focusing maybe on like an influencer, creator, celebrity, like really high profile, or people doing that just for, wellness, whether it's spa or you name it, kind of wellness services, or people doing that for studios. How have you evolved like that vision and that roadmap, the product itself, without like getting hung up on, oh, we could build all these different things, we could do this, we could do that, and ultimately at the end of the day, like not actually building anything, if that makes sense. So how have you thought about that, and how has that evolved?
Totally. So, based on my experience, I would always ask the why question. I love asking a million questions. Even as a kid, I'd raise my hand. I'd be like, why is it this way? Why is it that way? And I would look at all these softwares. And the first thing I'd say is like, why is it so old? Why doesn't it work? Why can't you talk to a real human? I'd be like, that's just like the way the world is. And then the second series of questions I started asking is, why aren't we making money? We do such an incredible thing for this industry. Like people would walk out of my yoga class in tears or wanting to change their lives, or would hang out with the owner of a studio and have this whole new perspective on life. And I'm like, how is it possible that fintech is innovating, restaurant space is innovating, and all of these businesses are flourishing and thriving, yet 50% of brick and mortar studios just shut down? How do we live in a world where there's just this incredible talent and we can't unlock revenue? So the way in which we solve it has changed over time, but the problem that we were always trying to solve, which is we do these incredible experiences, how do we give more people them so we're increasing access to wellness, has always been the same. But then how do we do it and attack it? Obviously, COVID transformed that because pre-pandemic, the real only way to make money was in studio, in person. And so where Arquetta's really found ourselves differentiating from any other platform is how do we unlock new monetization streams? That can be anything from your in-person one-on-one and group classes, but that could also be your own retail e-commerce shop, selling courses and ebooks. And there are different ways now that you have different revenue streams that every kind of business, whether you're a personal trainer or a 5 studio meditation business, they can all learn from those same core principles. Where we've really, really focused as a company is staying close to the customer. And instead of having our beliefs on how they should monetize, it's, hey, what are you currently cobbling together and trying to monetize? And how do we put that into one home? And I think the biggest differentiation is that we're built for the hybrid world. So not only can you do all of the in-person booking solutions that you're right, those exist. But really, the only way that anyone's going to survive in a post pandemic world is if they also offer some sort of hybrid solutions. And that could be like a retail store where you can shop online for supplements and t shirts, or where you can take your 200-hour teacher training. When you have two kids running around at home, you can do some of your sessions at home, but also some of your sessions in person because the teacher's going to give you a hands on adjustment and your life's going to be changed when you see human anatomy. So, core differentiator is really how do we do in person really well, but online just as well.
Yeah, I think it's super important to think about. There was the kind of pendulum swing, especially early on in the pandemic. It was like, gyms and studios are never coming back. Nobody's ever going to exercise in person. And you had all the kind of like digital players being like, basically our time has come and we're going to rule the fitness world for now into the future. And then there at different peaks throughout the various stages of lockdown, people would go back to gyms and then they would have to, basically get shut down again, so on and so forth. And a ton of gyms closed and studios. And so now we've arrived at this world where it's like, well, why can't I just have the best of both worlds as a consumer, right? And pick and choose and have those experiences that I like. And of course, that brings about from the operator side, like, okay, how do we adapt? And it's a process. It's evolving. I think people are still trying to figure that out. Obviously, you're at the forefront of that. How much has it been like educating fitness instructors, business owners, like, hey, here's how you do these things? Or are you finding that they're already figuring this out? They just don't have the tools, and then you fill that void.
Yeah, so we actually see a blend of both. We have people that come to us and they say, "Hey, I'm doing these things really, really well. I'm struggling at scaling because I'm doing it all manually." So I figured out the 30-day challenge and the 200-hour teacher training. It's just taking me 10 hours with a pen and paper to figure out how to run my modules and operate it. And those businesses are great. It's like, "Hey, here's an introduction to technology. We're going to make your life easier by monetizing that and something else in one place so that your customer journey is unified." So that's one segment of customers. Then we have another segment of customers that are like, "I do in studio really, really well. Hey, Rachalia, can we hop on a call with your team for the first time to learn about what even is a 30-day challenge? How do you run it? How do I reuse content? What Zoom mic do I need? What camera do I need?" And I think what I love so much about our team is that over half of us are actually from this industry. We're ex instructors, studio owners, managers, operators, you name it. And so these businesses can actually come to learn from us best practices and successfully launch new products from learning from other business owners. The last thing I'll say is, of course, we want to say we know everything, but we don't. And so where I think Arquetta really, really shines is the ability to build community. I may not know all the answers, my team may not know all the answers, but we now have thousands of business owners literally across the globe doing this all day, every day. So if you wanted to give me a ring and you're like, "Hey, I have a CrossFit gym in Pittsburgh looking to do XYZ, who do you know?" I can pull out my phone and be like, "Oh my God, I have to introduce you to this person. Go talk to them." And we see so many new friendships forming when you create this collaborative environment of just sharing what's working because the industry is just moving so quickly. And the last thing I'll add is that because the industry is moving so quickly, this education just doesn't exist. And so we're seeing this new world where our customers are craving that education. We have hundreds of people showing up to our webinars. We try to bring people in from other spaces. So think other verticals that are very successful and see how we can apply them to fitness, as well as, of course, introducing everyone together because tech is really, really complicated and frustrating. And most of us don't want to spend our lives on a computer. We want to spend our lives in a studio working with our clients.
Yeah, it's so funny to think about now, like even going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, like coming from the fitness industry, there was a period of time, like 2012, I think for us, we were running gyms, we were setting up licenses for affiliates, we were teaching instructor trainings and doing all these sorts of things. And at the same time, basically running a completely separate business selling PDFs online and information products and shipping equipment and supplements. And like, even, I mean, at that point, it was like, these are not even like remotely the same thing, right? There's not going to be any interaction with our physical locations that like the people we're selling to online. And obviously, fast forward 10 years later, it's like, no, that overlap, that is what you want to build and have and kind of all in one and turnkey and enable somebody to scale themselves, which is impossible when you're teaching hour by hour, class by class, what is utilization, what does bookings look like. So having that definitely gives you the upside to be able to scale the operation. You said, like, how do we actually make money? I think the other thing that's interesting is a lot of, I think, what's happened over the last couple years moving into the booking space is like people coming from outside the fitness industry. I think with a lot of the same perspective that you have is like, well, there is fintech and there are restaurants and there is all these other things, and tech is accelerating this. Like, we're going to do that for the fitness industry, but not having the kind of intimate knowledge, firsthand knowledge that you all have, and the passion for it that you just talked about. Like, hey, hit me up and my team will like figure it out. We'll connect you to the right people. What do you look at and say, like, why hasn't this been done before? Why didn't it kind of blow up in a positive way over the last couple years, where many different software providers, hybrid booking solutions, why didn't they take off? And why didn't, some of the billion-dollar companies in this space, right? Why haven't they kind of succeeded in building this hybrid vision where you are kind of pioneering this new path?
Yeah, I mean, I think where we've been really, really lucky is two things. First is obsession with tech product. So when you talk to me and you get to know me, I literally close my eyes and I know the buttons of every single screen of every single company in this market, not even in our market, but in other vertical SaaS products. Where I don't want to say like grossly obsessed, but like this is what I dream about is product. And at the end of the day, this is a tech product. So one, it's being so, so obsessed with the product industry. And then the second is I'm also just as obsessed with this industry. And that's everything from, as you get to know me, I take like 5 classes a week. I take online, I take in person. I'm wearing a Whoop, I'm wearing an Apple Watch, I'm wearing an Aura ring. Like, this industry to me is like such a personal passion. And where do you learn the best things that this product needs? Taking classes, hanging out with all of my friends who are studio owners, being like, oh, when I walked into class, like, we got to have a QR code there to quickly scan and check in because no one's waiting a line out the door anymore to sign waivers on a pen and paper. You learn the really, really small nuances by being obsessed with this industry. When you say, why hasn't anyone done it before? I mean, that was me 10 years ago being like, why isn't anyone doing this? I mean, I will say that this industry is very, very heavy on women. There's so many of us owners that are women, anything from the yoga, Pilates space all around. And tech is very, very heavily men dominated and male dominated. And so I think that Arquetta is able to bring this beautiful combination of one, my obsession with product and my obsession with the industry, which is just rare because most people like one or the other. And it's very, very exciting. The other thing that I will say is my co-founder's tech aptitude and ability and mutual obsession with the industry is just like a very, very weird combo. And I think you know this because you and your brother started something together and have these like unique obsessions together. But I think when you have someone who's technically aptitude and a product person, you have that beautiful, beautiful blend of so much obsession that you're willing to put in the extra time and energy to do the little, little stuff really, really well. And a lot of other softwares, if you're not tech savvy, they all look the same, right? You're like, oh, check-in screen that kind of looks the same, like client list that kind of looks the same. Well, how about segmentation based on class visit history in your funnel? Well, if you don't know the industry, you're like, shoo, that's so over your head. And so I think it is really the obsession over the little stuff that makes us stand out. And it's only when customers join in our 30, 60 days in, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know it was possible because I was just trying to find a software where it worked. But now not only does it work, you know what you're doing, which has been really, really exciting for us on the product side.
Yeah, what is well put, and it resonates with me. Like you said, like having that obsession, but shared obsession that you're almost driving each other and complementing each other in the things that you're good at and how you go about doing business. So it's really important to have that strong, in my case, brotherly co-founder, but in your case, co-founder as well. With the everything that's kind of happened, the accelerated nature of technology and the fitness industry and this hybrid kind of hybridization of booking and experiences, was there or do you anticipate there being any type of drop off in interest of like the digital products, and were you, I guess, concerned about that as things started to open back up, and how has it played out, and were the operators, the customers like concerned about that and having to kind of acknowledge it and deal with it.
Yeah, it's so funny. You read articles all the time that's like, digital is dead or like in person is dead. And like, who's running the studies is like the person that thinks the opposite of them, right? To like prove their product works. We're seeing a huge increase in person bookings. I mean, we've never seen so many classes waitlisted and studios thinking about expansion opportunities like, how do I now teach in the park or find rental space? How do I get space number two? We're also seeing an explosion in digital. Like our video views go through the roof, our hybrid teacher trainings are insane. And so, what I will say is, what is the difference between a successful business and a non successful business? It's not actually the medium. It's not actually, is it in person or is it online? It's community. It's how do you create this space that people are obsessed with? And the product is community. It's me looking at my student and being like, hey, how was your birthday weekend? What'd you end up getting as a gift? Or like, oh my God, I noticed those are new leggings. It's personalization, it's community. It's not necessarily where it's happening. We're seeing a spike in both in person and online. In person, because we as humans crave connection. So think about all those fun retreats to like Costa Rica, like in 2023, literally a year from now, they're fully being packed out. Teacher trainings are doing really well. Ebooks are doing really well. Video libraries are doing so well. Think you only have 20 minutes at home. I'm not going to drive 20 minutes to a studio. I'm going to do a 20-minute on demand. So you see different use cases for both. The other thing that we're seeing is a blend of digital and in person in membership. So think, hey, in a monthly membership, you get one or two in person, and we're actually going to supplement this in person because it's way more expensive to create a lower price product that has some digital components. So, like your nutrition ebook for cooking and what you might want to eat, or your meal plan, or a few warm up and cool down videos. What's really good about that blend is it creates retention. So, while you may not be seeing revenue in actually one or both places, you're seeing it in both. And that's the really, really exciting piece, I think, of what we notice at Arquetta is it doesn't really matter what happens in the world as long as you have business owners creating awesome community. And we're betting that more people are going to hopefully be moving more than ever, then they should be in a good place.
Yeah, it's always interesting to think about that conversation of like gyms are dead or people are, only exercising at home or whatever version of that there is. And then at the same time think about the vast majority of people who aren't physically active at all or nearly enough. And in terms of opportunity and where the industry is going and helping people, right? The business owners are then supporting people and getting active and staying active. It's like that is only going to continue to grow. All signs are moving in that direction. And if you're rooting for that team, which is like, hey, everybody get healthier, exercise, move more, it's like it's going to play out pretty favorably.
Yeah, I agree. People will be like, "You think your person's back?" And I'm like, "I just took a class that was packed. Like, here's a photo." Or like, "What do you think about live stream? I think it's dead." And I'm like, "I don't know. I just took a Zoom class where people were talking." Have you ever seen those face rollers
Yeah.
that like cool down your face? I was literally in a Zoom with 40 people learning about that. And so you see this like world where it's like if you don't have the full ecosystem of data, you're not seeing the full picture of the industry.
Yeah, even as you were describing the different kind of bundles that people were offering, there's nutrition and this, and then you're talking about the kind of skincare and the face roller. That kind of speaks to the evolving definition of fitness and wellness and how people are incorporating both of these things. And even with Arquetta or other kind of booking platform softwares, it's like you almost don't know, and not that you have to draw a line, but you don't even know in describing it, like the booking platform for all of fitness and wellness and whatever people designate or decide that it is and whatever service they want to offer. How do you, or do you need to kind of decide and put the flag in the ground? This is fitness, this is wellness businesses, this is whatever version of health you want to pursue. Like we can support you, the operator, in doing that.
Yeah, we don't define it. I mean, the box broadens and broadens literally every single day. Arcteta is actually a Greek word. It means you're enough. Concept being there's a very common yoga phrase that's like, hey, right as you are, Joe, as your business is today, it's enough. We're just here to help you shine. And so we're not here to help you define your modality and put it into a bucket of Pilates or in a bucket of dance. Those definitions are kind of out the door, we're seeing in the wellness space. As long as you're helping someone feel really, really good about themselves, that could be health coaching, nutritional coaching, anything from that to like body work, ice baths, sauna therapy. I mean, you name it, this industry is becoming more and more niche and there's a new modality every single day, that who are we to define that? As long as a business owner is helping other people feel really, really good about themselves, they're enough and they can use our software. Of course, if someone came to us and they were like, "Hey, can I use you for guitar lessons?" By all means, we're not shutting our doors, but wellness is really where we specialize as a company.
Yeah, and that, like I said, the idea of getting more people and helping them get active. It's like getting more people and helping them live a healthier, happier lifestyle. And hopefully, there's a lot more businesses that are doing that, and thus a bunch more people doing it as well, pursuing that. Changing gears a little bit, we kind of talked about the various fitness aspects, some of the product, your background in fitness and wellness, and being passionate about it. The other piece of that is the company building, right? Like, so actually making money, funding this thing, having customers, like all that stuff. You guys are announcing new funding round, which is super exciting. We're fortunate enough and super excited to have participated in that. And as you think about like building the company, raising money, growing the team, what does that world look like? How do you approach that? And I guess what are you kind of excited about, looking forward to?
Yeah, I think what's most excited is to have more people on the Arquetta team. And that's not only from my experience, but other owner and operator experiences, your experience, First Round Capital, who's led the round. They've invested in other companies like Uber and Roblox and Square. And just to be able to absorb the incredible knowledge that they've had working with thousands of other companies over a lifetime accelerates our ability to grow a little bit faster. I think what is really, really exciting about making this announcement is it's, hey, Arquetta is not only here today, we're in this to change an industry. And we don't are not the only ones that believe this. There are other people standing behind this and are willing to do whatever it takes to change the industry. I think that's what's most exciting to me because if you do look, and I'm sure you've spoken to a lot of other founders, you look at the fitness and wellness industry and funding as a whole, it's almost put off to the right. They're like, "Oh, I made my one fitness investment for the year." Like, that's the cap. Or like, fitness, that's like not even in venture, fundable, etc. It's very, very exciting to show how big this space is and to be a part of something incredible. And I talk and work with so many other fitness and wellness founders, and it's very, very exciting to put more capital into an industry that is growing so quickly. And not only it helps us, but it hopefully helps the 10 plus more companies that are to come. So that's, I think, what's most exciting for me. And then also to grow the team and scale the product. We have thousands of customers that are begging us for more and more and more and more, which we absolutely love. And the ability to continue supporting them at light speed is very exciting for us.
Yeah, kind of pouring fuel on the fire, accelerating and continuing to grow. I think that's one of the things that we're excited about and getting to know you all, even be long before this, that you've approached it with a lot of intention and patience. And I think even for a period of time, bootstrap the company, were very thoughtful in how you were growing it. How big is the team now, and how do you plan on like kind of not only growing that team, but what that enables from like a feature or product perspective as you ramp that up?
Yeah, so team right now is at 21 in terms of full-time employees, and that's across all divisions from engineering, sales, customer success, etc. And we're looking to grow across all teams. I think what's really important is engineering and of course product. We're a tech company. And so Josh has been an incredible co-founder leading that company and leading that team. And then of course growing and scaling on both sales and support. So sales to scale the product so everyone knows who Arquetta is, and then especially on client success and support. I think where we really win as a company is you can hop on a phone call with me. You can hop on a live chat. You can request a phone call back. I think for so long, we have felt by ourselves as business owners in the wellness industry and really, really being able to overinvest in support and community will see huge, huge dividends of rewards in the future on these businesses being able to successfully grow and scale, right? If they have no one to talk to about this stuff, they have nothing to do and nowhere to grow. And so, yeah, we're growing across all teams. I think what else is really exciting is the community we're building. Like I said, we have so many women on the team, which is very rare for a startup at all. Many of which, who it's their first startup, so getting more and more people involved in the tech space, and then almost half of our team being from this industry. So those are the two things I'm most proud of: is that and our team. And hopefully we'll be growing very shortly. So we have lots of roles and we'll be posting those and they're on our website and of course featured on Fit as well.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe a couple more questions before we get you out of here. Just thinking about as the industry continues to evolve, the kind of interest that there has been previously in the SaaS, the vertical SaaS around health and wellness, some of the consolidation that's already happened. When you think about, kind of looking forward and the vision, not just roadmap in terms of product, what you want to achieve, how you're going to go about doing those things, but for how the kind of industry and landscape evolves, do you have the flag in the ground vision for where you want Arquetta to be, even call it 5 years into the future? Or is it just a matter of like, hey, you're still in startup mode. You need to focus on X number of weeks or months at a time and not really worry about the noise or whatever else is happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's a twofolded question, right? Like, there are, of course, things that we really want to do, which is, again, how do we help our studios grow beyond classes? And so that's always looking at different revenue streams, looking at different ways they can monetize, how they can monetize. But there was a tweet actually, and I forget exactly who said it. And they said the best companies do the simplest things really, really well. At the end of the day, we're not a company that has shiny object syndrome where we just like go and look and we're like, oh, we're just going to build this and this and this and this and this. And here's our 5 year roadmap. It's, hey, what's the problem we're trying to solve? We're trying to solve a problem that our studios aren't able to successfully increase access to wellness and give their services because they don't monetize. And how do we do that? And that's how we think about product. Of course, the noise is fun. I love reading what's the latest and greatest in tech, but our goal is to do that very, very, very well. And so what we look at in the next year as our businesses grow is, okay, we have this incredible core customer of studios. What do they need to successfully run a business? And let's focus on doing those 10x better than anyone else instead of, hey, let's go build a bunch of fun jargon for marketing ads, maybe. So yeah, I mean, I can't tell you where we'll be 5 years from now exactly. We will definitely be in the tech space with booking software and video software and all that fun stuff. And I'm very, very excited, like I said, to hop in. I think we're talking about this 5 years from now and be like, hey, here's where we were yesterday and here's where we are today.
Yeah, it's super exciting. A lot to look forward to with the kind of interest in not only health and fitness, but helping operators and brands like maximize revenue. Aside from, and maybe this is the best way, you are obviously super accessible and approachable in terms of like hit us up and we'll be happy to help you. How are you going about driving demand, getting new studios, meeting new folks, onboarding them? What's working? And is the best way just for folks to go to the website, sign up, or is it to hit you up? What does that kind of demand generation and then onboarding look like?
Yeah, so we'll start with demand gen. We're so lucky. We have incredible customers. I mean, word of mouth for us is so, so powerful. They launch and then they go tell 10 friends. They're like, oh my God, you have to meet this, that, and the other. I mean, they will literally be meeting me for the first time on a sales call. I went and took at an incredible studio in Brooklyn. I was in New York last week. And after class, I was sitting there with the owner, Anthony, and I was literally like taking hammers on tires. And I don't know what happened to me for an hour. And we literally got on his truck because he was so nice. He was driving me to breakfast. And he'd met me for the first time 10 minutes ago. And he's like, I have 7 people I have to introduce you to because
Mm.
this is life changing. And I think the fitness and wellness industry is like a spider web. Everyone knows everyone, everyone wants to help everyone. And so we are so, so grateful for our customers. Demand gen has been referral word of mouth, people loving it, and then us being in the community. And that's, again, things we love doing, taking classes, talking to people, getting to know our owners. If you ever want to reach out, arquetta.co is our website. And then hello at arquetta.co is the default email. I'm one of those people that loves to talk to anyone and everyone. So, studios, retail brands, owners and operators of fit tech startups. We love doing what we do all day, every day. And if we can ever be a resource, please go on our website and drop us a note and just say, hey, I want to talk to the girl that said I could talk to her. We love meeting everyone.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect place to wrap up. You kind of tied a nice ribbon around it in terms of it sounds like if you're a studio, if you're in the health and fitness industry, you guys are obviously hiring. So any of those things, go to the website, hit you up, reach out. And yeah, I hope folks take you up on that and excited to continue to follow along.
I love it. I appreciate you having me. And next time, Joe, we have to take a class together. That'll be our
Uh,
podcast, us in the studio, live recording
I'm down.
as we tape.
Let's go. Let's pick a class. We'll make it happen.
All right, I love it. Thanks again for having me.